Have you ever wondered how different the world might be if one of the most infamous military operations in history had actually worked? The Bay of Pigs invasion was a colossal failure, but what if it had succeeded? The implications could have reshaped not just Cuba, but the entire Cold War landscape. The Bay of Pigs invasion was a failed military invasion of Cuba, conducted by a CIA-trained group of Cuban exiles on April 17, 1961. It was a pivotal moment in the Cold War, symbolizing the intense rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. The operation was aimed at overthrowing Fidel Castro's communist government in Cuba, just 90 miles from United States shores. This event significantly strained United States-Cuban relations, setting the stage for decades of hostility. The significance of the Bay of Pigs invasion extends beyond the failed operation itself, as it represented a critical point in United States-Cuba relations and the broader Cold War. The failed invasion solidified Castro's power in Cuba and led to a stronger alignment with the Soviet Union. For the United States, it marked a failure of covert operations and led to a re-evaluation of how to approach similar situations in the future. The aftermath of the Bay of Pigs also contributed to the escalation of the Cold War, heightening tensions between the United States and the USSR. Understanding the Bay of Pigs requires a look back at Cuba's revolution. In 1959, Fidel Castro's forces overthrew the authoritarian government of Fulgencio Batista, leading to a communist government in the Western Hemisphere. This was a strategic victory for the Soviet Union, which quickly established close ties with Cuba. The new communist government in Cuba was a direct challenge to United States interests in the region, fearing the spread of communism just 90 miles from American shores. President John F. Kennedy, who had campaigned on a platform of being tough on communism, faced pressure to act. So, Castro's revolution and Cuba's subsequent alignment with the Soviet Union really heightened tensions with the United States. The United States had significant economic interests in Cuba, especially in the sugar industry, and well, the emergence of a communist state so close to home was definitely seen as a threat. All of these factors set the stage for the Bay of Pigs invasion, as the United States sought to undermine Castro's government. Key figures like Kennedy and Castro played crucial roles in the events leading up to the invasion. The plan for the Bay of Pigs invasion involved a group of about 1,400 Cuban exiles, known as Brigade 2506, who were trained and equipped by the CIA. The operation began with an airstrike that, unfortunately, failed to destroy the Cuban Air Force, followed by a landing at the Bay of Pigs. However, the exile force quickly found itself pinned down on the beach, facing unexpectedly strong resistance from Cuban military forces. The exile force's plan was to establish a beachhead spark, a popular uprising against Castro, and then take control of the island. But the operation was poorly planned and executed, with crucial intelligence failures and honestly, inadequate air support. A successful invasion would have required the rapid establishment of a secure foothold, which, in the end, the exile force failed to achieve. If the Bay of Pigs invasion had succeeded, it's possible that Castro's government might have been overthrown. This would have had significant implications for United States foreign policy, potentially bolstering America's position in the Western Hemisphere. A successful invasion could have also provided a strategic victory for the United States, demonstrating the effectiveness of covert operations. United States foreign policy might have taken a different course, with potentially more interventions in the region. The immediate aftermath of a successful invasion would have likely involved a prolonged period of occupation and rebuilding. The United States would have faced the challenge of establishing a stable, friendly government in Cuba. The Cuban people might have initially welcomed the overthrow of Castro's regime, but the long-term implications would have depended on the nature of the new government. A United States-backed government in Cuba could have led to a period of close United States-Cuba relations. However, a successful Bay of Pigs invasion would have been fraught with challenges. Logistical issues plagued the operation from the start, including inadequate air support and poor intelligence on Cuban military strength. The exile force faced unexpected resistance from Cuban forces, who were better prepared than anticipated. These challenges highlight the complexities of military operations, and honestly, the unpredictability of conflict. The exile force was also hampered by internal divisions and communication breakdowns. A successful invasion would have required overcoming these obstacles and adapting to changing circumstances on the ground. The operation's failure was not just a matter of bad luck, but also of flawed planning and execution. If the invasion had succeeded, these issues might have been overlooked in the initial euphoria of victory. The potential outcomes of a successful Bay of Pigs invasion are intriguing to consider. A change in government in Cuba could have had ripple effects across the Caribbean and Latin America. U.S. foreign policy might have become more interventionist, with a focus on rolling back communism in the region. The Cuban people's response would have been critical in determining the long-term success of a new government. The implications for the Cold War would have been significant, potentially altering the balance of power in the Western Hemisphere. A U.S.-friendly government in Cuba would have been a strategic victory, but it also would have come with risks. The Soviet Union might have sought to counter this move by supporting other leftist movements in the region. A successful Bay of Pigs invasion would have been a turning point in the Cold War. The geopolitical landscape could have looked very different with a successful Bay of Pigs invasion. U.S.-Cuba relations would have been transformed, potentially leading to a period of close cooperation. The Caribbean and Latin America might have seen a shift in the balance of power, with the U.S. gaining a strategic foothold. The world might have looked very different if the Bay of Pigs invasion had succeeded. In summary, a successful Bay of Pigs invasion would have reshaped U.S.-Cuba relations and the Cold War landscape. The operation's failure had lasting impacts on U.S. foreign policy and the region. A successful invasion would have required overcoming significant challenges, from logistical issues to unexpected resistance. The potential outcomes would have had far-reaching implications for the Western Hemisphere. The Bay of Pigs invasion remains a fascinating and complex event in history, offering insights into the challenges of military operations and, honestly, the unpredictability of conflict. For viewers interested in the Cold War and United States-Cuba relations, there are many more stories to explore. Watching related videos on these topics can provide a deeper understanding of this pivotal moment in history. If you're intrigued by alternative histories and what-ifs, there's a wealth of content out there to explore. From documentaries to historical analyses, delving into these topics can be both educational and, really thought-provoking. The Bay of Pigs invasion is just one of many events that shaped the Cold War and its legacy. The world might have looked very different if the Bay of Pigs invasion had succeeded, and exploring these what-ifs can offer valuable insights into history's complexities. So encourage yourself to dive deeper into these topics and explore the vast array of content available. For more content like this, subscribe to the What the Happened YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay informed and stay curious.